The true story of Osho. Sex, drugs, and Rolls Royce alighting as a profitable business. Osho was born in 1931 in India with the name Chandra Mohan in a Jain family. For the first 7 years, he was raised by his grandparents in a lifestyle that involved total freedom. In the 60s, he took the name Acharya Rajneesh, leader of the night or Lord of Darkness, then Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh. He graduated in philosophy, standing out for the fact that he stirred up polemics and interrupted classes. He was asked not to come to classes anymore, only to exams. At the age of 21, he claimed to have attained enlightenment, which he then began to preach. He graduated from college with a master's degree in philosophy and worked for a short time as a university lecturer, being considered a potential danger for the moral development of students because of his views on sexuality. Osho moved to the USA, lying to the immigration office that the reason for his establishment in America was his health. In 1980, he illegally founded an agricultural community for his disciples, a town with his name, in the state of Oregon. More than 7,000 people populated Rajneeshpuram, most of them having higher education. The Rajneesh movement was based on principles from many religions and spiritual orientations: Buddhism, Jainism, Zen. The main attractions: sex without obligations, orgies, and drugs. One of the main attractions of the community was the belief in free love, which led to numerous speculations that it was a sexual cult. All the more so since admission to the community required an HIV test. In India, Osho had already become the symbol of a sex guru. Sheila, his secretary, admitted that the spiritual master had sexual relations with many women from the spiritual community created around him. Osho proclaimed himself to be a guru of rich and bored people. Most of those who joined the community had almost everything they wanted in life and were looking for something new to attract them. Free love means sex without obligations, with any partner who agreed, and even with several partners. Orgies had become the manifestation of the spiritual principle of love without limits. This sexual libertinism was the main attraction for those who became members of the spiritual community around Osho. The synthetic drug ecstasy was banned by law in the USA, starting with 1984. Until then, it was also used for therapeutic purposes. In Osho's community, the use of drugs was free, and after their legal prohibition, it was rumored that members of the community were distributing drugs, including as international dealers. Lighting as a job and as a profitable business. The Rajneesh movement had great financial and commercial power. The disciples built a corporate empire in Rajneeshpuram, developed even on an international scale. The city was quoted at hundreds of millions of dollars in profit at the height of its glory. Bhagwan had become a very rich man. Many of his disciples were very rich businessmen who supported their master. The community and their movement have turned into a source of massive profit. Proclaiming himself an enlightened being, Osho decided that the only car in which he would be seen should be a Rolls Royce, a symbol of wealth and financial power. He was not satisfied with a single luxury car, so he bought 94 pieces, becoming the owner of the largest fleet of Rolls Royces in the world at that time. Rolls Royce has become a brand synonymous with Osho, and he displays this ostentatiously. Many of his cars were artistically tuned as a personal brand. Black kimono was his favorite car. The cult of personality. Mysterious and enigmatic for the uninitiated, Osho's cult has become a real personality cult. His teachings continue to enjoy commercial success and great popularity with the public today. Osho had no direct control over the operations in Rajneeshpuram. His personal secretary, Ma Anand Sheela, handles these matters. She was famous as a fierce woman, with a caustic manner of expression and completely devoid of veil. Sheila's style does not really encourage the relations between the members of the community and those of the neighboring communities. But the disciples were numerous and took over the political control of the state institutions under the administrative leadership of Sheila. The first target was the nearest town, Antelope. The disciples installed their own candidates for the elections there and voted for them in large numbers, surpassing the number of voters in the respective city. The residents of Antelope felt unfair because they felt that city funds were being diverted. Osho's right hand, Sheila, organized the first bioterrorist attack in the USA. Tensions reached a climax in 1983 when the Attorney General of Oregon declared Rajneeshpuram an illegal city, on the grounds that it had become a religious institution that violated the constitutional principles of the separation of church and state. Prolonged trials followed, during which the city's status was uncertain. It was becoming increasingly clear that Sheila would stop at nothing to increase the number of disciples in the state of Oregon, no matter what that entailed. In 1984, the city of Dallas, in Oregon, registered 750 people contaminated with salmonella and seriously ill. At first, the cause was considered a restaurant with poor hygiene, where all the victims had eaten. But the epidemic had much deeper roots and was not just a simple accident. Medical investigations made the connection between the salmonella epidemic and a sample found in the clinic in Rajneeshpuram. It was speculated that Sheila and her inner circle intended to infest the restaurants in the Dallas, and the first salmonella outbreak was a first test. It was rumored that a larger-scale bioterrorist attack was coming in November of the same year. The purpose of the bioterrorist attacks was to decrease the number of voters so that the number of disciples would be decisive in imposing the elected, for taking over the political and administrative control of the neighboring towns in the state of Oregon. Sheila and her inner circle were also accused of plotting to assassinate the prosecutor who was investigating the trials in which the community of disciples was incriminated. Rajneeshpuram was under strict control by Sheila and his men. The conversations were monitored and listened to prevent the leakage of internal information. A guru and a multi-fraud community. Rajneeshpuram was a great attraction for other reasons as well. Over 400 arranged marriages have been registered to avoid immigration laws and allow disciples from other countries to settle in the U.S. It was the largest record of fraudulent marriages in American history. After Rajneeshpuram fell into illegality, the police discovered a cache of over 100 firearms in the city, including semi-automatic carbines, magnum revolvers, assault rifles, even grenades, all coming from over 25 dealers. Sheila invited 3,000 to 4,000 homeless people to settle in Rajneeshpuram, and they were drugged with Haldol without their knowledge. Thus, people were much more docile, passive, and easy to control. Their numbers significantly increased the number of voters used by the community to take over political control. Osho denied knowing all this and blamed his secretary. Homeless people were expelled and abandoned in neighboring cities. It was rumored that the disciples even planned to airbomb the courthouse in the Dallas in a desperate attempt to oppose the U.S. government and laws and avoid the trials in which they were accused. These included tax evasion, money laundering, undeclared work, illegal immigration, prostitution, arms and drug trafficking, attempted electoral fraud, assassination, and terrorist attack with biological weapons. Sheila and his henchmen were expelled by Osho from the community, but much too late, at the last moment. Osho continued to claim that he did not know their plans. Sheila pleaded guilty to attempted murder, grievous bodily harm, unauthorized recording, and immigration fraud. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison and the payment of a fine of almost $500,000. After her release from prison, she was deported to Switzerland. Osho's secretary declared in court that her main purpose was to defend the guru, carrying out his orders. In Switzerland, Sheila takes care of 2 centers for people with disabilities. In the documentary film Wild Wild Country, produced by Netflix in 2018, Sheila reveals the secrets of the Rajneeshpuram community. The documentary that tells the story of the most controversial guru in history was well rated and enjoyed great success. After going illegal, Rajneeshpuram was abandoned and became a ghost town. The collection of Rolls Royces has been sold. Osho's disciples continued to spread his teachings throughout the world. Osho tried to leave the USA on board his personal plane. When he stopped to fuel the plane in North Carolina, he was awaited by the authorities. Osho pleaded guilty to 40 counts of immigration fraud. He was deported and no foreign country received him. He returned to India, where he died in 1990. Osho did not write any book and did not establish any system. He was against systems of any kind. The 12 books in the series Dhammapada, The Way of the Buddha, represent his discourses, carefully noted by his disciples and verified by Osho. Freedom and spiritual liberation marked the existence of the controversial guru the most. One of his theories was that a spiritually realized, liberated man can do anything without repercussions. This material plane no longer constrains and conditions it. The value of Osho's words and his experience in the spiritual field are undeniable. His nonconformist style shaped prejudices and doctrines. The only question mark remains only his quality as an authentic guru who serves as a perfect personal example, especially as a virtue, living according to the principles he supports.